The Finals 4th season recently dropped, and it is fantastic. Not only does it bring awesome new content to the game, like these dual Desert Eagles and alternative weapon optics, but it really feels like the game has found its footing. With Embark saying their player retention this season is fantastic, which I guess actually makes the Finals a successful, free-to-play, casual, competitive FPS. The Finals is doing what seems impossible in today's market, and I am all here for it. Alright, so firstly, if you haven't played the Finals yet, it's free to play, and it doesn't have any pay-to-win mechanics and has some of the most epic destruction I've seen in a video game ever. Go try it. No, this is not a sponsored video. With the recent launch of Season 4, Embark just announced that it's been their most successful season so far, with improved player retention and more positive feedback than past seasons. The season brings, of course, a new map and new cosmetics, but it also added some highly requested quality of life gameplay features, additional loadout slots, a proper static crosshair, tons of balance improvements, and of course, bug fixes. The new map is called Fortune Stadium. It's got a lot of elements from the Soul map, but condensed down into a slightly smaller playable area and more vibrant color coordination. The launch maps had more realistic paint and color schemes, which made some areas kind of blend into others a bit. But Fortune Stadium uses some pretty bold color palettes, with areas having their own unique colors and some unique buildings. It's definitely a solid map for gameplay, but maybe not as interesting as, say, Season 3's Kyoto map, which leaned hard into Japanese aesthetics with pagodas and foliage. It seems like they might be planning on going back and forth between highly detailed real-world locations and then totally abstract, wild map designs. When it comes to gameplay, the new map is absolutely fun. It's not too small of a map, but it actually feels bigger just because of how densely packed it is. So you always have some good options for getting around, and the combat flow feels spot on. The new guns, though, are probably where the season shines the most. The Heavy gets a Kimbo 50 cal Desert Eagles, which is a very Finals weapon loadout. Medium gets a DMR called the Pike 556, and Light gets the M26 Matter pump action shotgun. Now, I've played around with the Pike a bit, and it hits surprisingly hard. I can down a medium or light player in just a few shots and feel pretty competent against Heavy. This game doesn't have a giant arsenal of weapons, but each one of them feels pretty iconic and fun to play with. So I'm glad the devs are really taking their time with the weapon rollouts and not overwhelming players. Now, the season also adds some new attachments for the existing guns. Until now, pretty much every gun in the game was naked, meaning no weapon attachments like extended mags, optics, grips, or anything like that. But this season adds a handful of optics, like red dots and low magnification scopes, to most of the guns. The player base has expressed an interest in this sort of customization, so it's nice to see Embark delivering it without mixing up the game's weapon balance or turning it into some sort of hardcore gun customization FPS. Personally, I like having a red dot sight instead of iron sights on the AKM. It doesn't feel drastically different, so I think I could perform just about the same with both of them, but some maps do have darker areas, and the iron sights don't silhouette as nicely on those, and for that, the red dot is just a nice comfort to have. You also get 2 additional loadout slots to play with, which definitely helps, considering the growing arsenal of weapons and gadgets. There's also a new sponsor system that expands the game's previous weekly challenges. You can pick one of 3 sponsors to progress and unlock that sponsor's cosmetic items by completing the weekly challenges. Some of them can certainly make you play above or beyond how you might typically approach the game, like having to heal teammates for several thousand HP, but you don't have to complete every single challenge. You can just pick and choose which ones, so usually there's a challenge in there that caters to your style more. It is a little frustrating that you can't switch to a new sponsor at any time, which means you're missing out on free cosmetics from the other 2 sponsors, even if you complete your chosen sponsor's progression before the season ends. Now, when it comes to the smaller additions with this season, there's a new static crosshair setting that keeps the crosshair fixed in the center of the screen, which I know a lot of competitive players have been requesting. As for balance changes, Embark are working on evening out the win rates for all the classes. The light class is currently the most popular popular pick with players, and the Heavy is the least picked, but the win rates are actually reversed, with the light class players losing more games than Heavies. So this season, the Heavies gadgets have been buffed a little, while the RPG has been nerfed to be less of an opener or entry frag tool. And I think the main issue with players picking the Heavy less, even though it has technically been a better class, is just its lack of mobility in a game that's so focused on kind of parkouring your way around the map. Certainly slower moving suits the style of the Heavy more, but it's clear that players are gravitating towards the faster classes. It would be cool to give the Heavy some sort of mobility option, even if it didn't put it necessarily on par with the other classes, like a Hulk jump or something like that could be neat. Now, I'm sure there's plenty of feedback and concerns about the game's balance overall, but coming at it from more of the casual perspective, I didn't really feel like anything was too OP this time around. It also helps that the finals still feels like a casual competitive game where you can certainly take it seriously and have fun trying to win tournaments, but it's also just about having fun and doing cool stuff. Like, I've really enjoyed a bunch of the tournaments, even that we've lost, because some of the moments during the gameplay were so enjoyable. Now, of course, there's still some weaker items in the game that probably need some sort of buff to make more usable. And then, of course, there's the whole meta of just throwing tons of mines all over an objective, which can be super frustrating. But once you start to get the hang of it and figure out the meta, it's not too hard to counter some of the more cheesy mechanics. Now, there's a ton more changes with this season, and the patch notes is like pages and pages, so check those out if you're interested. But circling back to how the game is doing overall, could the finals join that elusive group of live service games that players tend to just enjoy more over time, like Helldivers 2, No Man's Sky, Path of Exile, and Warframe? Though they might not be quite punching at those numbers just yet, I could certainly see the finals becoming a staple game for many. Embark have done a great job of adding more stuff to the game while also not overcomplicating it. So many games these days tend to balloon out once they hit some sort of success, and it can make them less inviting to new players. The devs seem to be keenly aware of this, and even jumping back into Season 4, it still feels just as fun and accessible as the first time I loaded up the game. And they fixed one of my top complaints, was just how grindy the battle pass felt, especially since you were paying for it, and now you can get through it pretty casually without having to sink a ton of time into it, and the cosmetics are still amazing. So yeah, I don't really think it's a surprise that the finals is doing so well. They made something innovative and fun that keeps getting more fun to play with every update. What do you guys think though? Have you been pulled back into the finals, and do you see the game standing the test of time? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed it, don't forget to leave me a like, subscribe for more content like it, and ding that notification bell to beat the YouTube algorithm with me. Up next, check out The Forever Winter, another studio really trying something crazy and innovative, but will it pay off? Check out the video, and as always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. This is Levelcap, signing off.